Welcome back to a glimpse at His Story, an investigative look into ancient history and God's Word. Today we're going to be in session 14, evidence number 12, and we're going to be looking at amazing pieces of engineering. Remember our memory verse? Hebrews 11:10, for he looked for a city which hath foundations, whose builder and maker is God. Proof number 12, amazing engineering. That would mean that pre-flood knowledge was carried by those 8 people on the ark and passed on to the next generation and so on. Is that possible? Sure it is. Look at the ark itself that Noah built. It was a massive feat of engineering. Those early peoples are nothing like the Neanderthals that we're shown in history and science books that are living in caves. When God created man, He created him intelligent and capable. We've already went over the Tower of Babel, and the Tower of Babel is a ziggurat. Did you know that pyramids and ziggurats have the same structure on the inside? They just look a little bit different on the outside. That means that the pyramids are not only found in Egypt, they're found all over our world. That means that those people dispersing from the Tower of Babel took this engineering with them, and we're fixing to look at the evidence. Here are some remains of a pyramid ziggurat structure dated for 3000 BC, located in Iran. Here's the step pyramid. Most of us are familiar with this one. It dates to 2610 BC and it comes from Memphis, Egypt. Here's another one that might be familiar to you. It's the Pyramid of Khufu, located at Giza, Egypt, dated to 2560 BC. Here are some pyramids that are found in the Sudan. Here's a pyramid that's found in Rome, Italy that dates to 12 BC. What about the Pyramid of the Sun located in Teotihuacan, Mexico? Here's a pyramid ziggurat structure that's found in Cambodia. Here's a pyramid that is a tomb of a general that's located in China. Another in Indonesia. We can find this pyramid in Spain. I bet most of y'all are like me. You had no clue that there was pyramids in Peru. Here's another pyramid that we can find in China. Engineering a pyramid or ziggurat is no simple feat. Astonishing evidence of these pyramid structures are found all over our world from many ancient cultures. Coincidence? As we go through the next few photos, I want to make sure that you know no records exist of any contact between these civilizations, other than the biblical account of God confusing the languages and scattering the people all over the earth. These next 3 cultures that we're going to look at, they're on different continents. They each have pyramids, they build with the corbel arch system, and they mummified their inhabitants. So let's take a closer look. This pyramid comes from Mexico. In the same place we find the pyramid in Mexico, we also find the corbel arch. This ancient culture also mummified the remains of their inhabitants. This step pyramid is located in Indonesia. Again, we find the corbel arch used here. This ancient culture also mummifies their inhabitants. There's actually a festival in Indonesia where mummies are dressed up and displayed. I saved our last pyramid located in Egypt for last because that's the one that we're most familiar with. Here again we find the corbel arch within the Khufu pyramid in Egypt. And of course, Egypt is not only known for the pyramids, they're known for their mummies. Here's a mummy of the 19th dynasty king, King Ramses II. We could go on and on discovering these ziggurat pyramid structures that are found all over our world in many different ancient cultures. In all of these, they use the corbel arch system, and they also mummify the remains of their inhabitants. But I also want to point out that in most of these cultures, we find hieroglyphs and golden masks. Reading through Genesis chapter 11 and combining it with historical sources, we know that the Tower of Babel was a ziggurat. When God dispersed those people from Babel, they would take that engineering and architecture with them to wherever they were going to settle, and that's exactly what we find. Remember Nimrod, the great-grandson of Noah, who we found in Genesis chapter 10? We've already discussed him in a previous video, but I want to point out that out of the 9 cities that he built, 6 have been excavated. Out of those 6, most have been found to have ziggurat-like structures. Here is a recreation of what Nimrod would have looked like back when it was built. Here is a ziggurat found at Ur. This is again in the Mesopotamian region. And here's a depiction of the most famous ziggurat, the Tower of Babel, which was rebuilt by Nebuchadnezzar II. Ziggurats are pyramids. They're one and the same. They're carefully engineered and high quality. It is believed that the earliest Egyptians would have begun to build right after the dispersal at the Tower of Babel. There is no experimental pyramids. The first pyramids are considered the best. Pyramids are astrologically based, just like ziggurats are. Most biblical scholars agree that the Tower of Babel was astrologically based. Not only did those people take the engineering with them when they dispersed into all the other lands, they would also take this belief system, and that's exactly what we find on different continents all over our world. We should also add these astrological-based ancient structures to the list because they're all just like Babel. The Tower of Babel was a feat of engineering, and that knowledge didn't die when God dispersed the people to go repopulate the earth. In fact, we see that they took that engineering knowledge with them when they started to rebuild. These structures are exactly what we would expect to find as we examine God's Word, and they validate the biblical account that we find in Genesis chapter 11.